Your piece on exogene is so very important because of the follow-up that you went through and your nightmare. It happened to me. I was stalked and I sent my stalker to jail. And your stalker was not a stranger. Your stalker was someone you were extremely intimate with. Who was your stalker?
My stalker at the time was my husband. We had gone through probably about a 10-year relationship, and it was brutal at the very end. He had gone through some issues that left him just emotionally gutted and violent and just not in a good space. And we could not work it out. And so I ended up leaving with our children, literally with 2 bags and a couple kids. And that's really when the problem started. He was relentless for 5 years, absolutely relentless, followed me, trailed me, would leave things on my doorstep, would harass friends, family, would break into my house and call me from my home phone on my cell phone. And it's all about documentation. We documented for years and years and years, and you have to show that pattern. You know, it's not just, oh, this person is scary and here's the proof and off they go to jail. It doesn't work that way.
One of the ways in which he stalked you was via your Social Security number.
Absolutely. He used my social to figure out where I was living, figure out different moves that I was making, whether it was financial or otherwise. So I went through the process of changing the social. I went through the process of a full name change because it made changing the social easier so that I was no longer a victim of identity theft. But to actually prosecute the identity theft, you have to absolutely prove that this person is doing it. And without his computer, they couldn't prove it. So I was stuck with, being followed. And the only way out was to actually go through the process of changing things and to go through the court procedure of changing a legal name a little bit and this and that. It takes months and months and months. Mm-hmm. And it was time that I didn't have to waste either.
How did your children deal with this whole arduous 5-year process of moving around from place to place only to be followed by their stalker father? Were they cognizant of the danger that they were in and you were in?
I would say that they had an awareness because it was impossible to keep it from them, but I tried very hard to let them be kids. And that was part of the hard part, was for me, to have my own little freak out and my own little panic, and then to walk into the next room and act like everything is fine, because they didn't need to carry that through their lives every minute of the day. Obviously, we had safety plans in effect at all times, and, they knew what to do in an emergency. But in the grand scheme of things, I worked really hard to preserve their day-to-day life and their childhood because they deserved that. There were times where, I had a straight conversation with my oldest. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear something, lock your door, get your phone, call 911, do not come out. And it's a horrible thing to have that kind of conversation with your child for a real reason rather than just, a typical safety plan. But for the most part, they were kids. They played and they went to school and they got their good grades and they were shielded from as much as possible. But there was always an awareness there for sure.